everybody, and welcome back to the Manga Monday podcast, part of the Weird Science family of manga podcasts. I'm here with Luke Hollywood. What up, Luke?
What up, Jim?
What up? And we end up having kind of hot off the presses. Luke loves the hot off the presses, but he might also love the lukewarm. Lukewarm off the presses. I'm telling you. With this one, where it's funny because Luke always ends up telling me, you know, what's going down.
Well, ear to the pulse of the streets.
Ear to the pulse of the streets. Even though we had a review recently on our My Hero Academia reading club that seems to think that Luke Hollywood is new to the pulse of the streets.
Crazy.
I don't know what they're talking about. Though it was still a nice review. But even so, Luke gives me the pulse of the streets. So he says, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to end up, and we'll reveal, you probably already know, but it is the Ghostbuster Osamu. So he tells me this is pretty good, banger going. So right before we start, I say, oh, a lot of people talking about this one. You're like, no, nobody is. Oh, okay. So it's really lukewarm because only Luke thinks it's even warm. But I liked it.
There we go.
As an aside, I don't know if everybody realizes this, but last night when we were going to record, Luke somehow went to the 8th floor again and ended up falling asleep, which made me have to read it again because I can't remember anything.
So nice, you read it twice.
And I read it again and liked it better.
You see, that was my secret plan. I'll fall asleep.
I thought your secret plan was just to fall asleep. That's what it was, and make my Monday hell is what you did. But with that, what are we talking about, Luke?
Well, yes, this week, Jim, we have the lukewarm off the presses. Ghostbuster Osamu. Ghost player. They've been doing the Mango player bands in the Ghostbusters, so that's why.
Yeah, that's what you're going to try to make that work.
Oh, jeez, Louise,
it didn't work.
A little goofy.
It didn't work.
Yes, this is the Ghostbuster Osamu. It is written and drawn.
Edit that.
Edit that out, Jim. Oh, jeez. Written and drawn by.
How dare you?
Getabako, which is, I assume, like their artist writer name, or it could be a group. I don't know. They don't have a Twitters. They don't have a Facebooks. They don't have none. So I can't find anything. So and I've done my research because I like this one. I can't find nothing to do with the Geek Ghostbuster Osamu. I can't find one-shots. I can't find Twitters. I can't find nothing. So nobody's talking about this down on the streets, but I think they should.
It says that it is a repurposed, one-shot with an added bonus material of the second chapter, which I said probably will confuse people anyway. But I do love the idea when you're going to go in hard and heavy, right? Go in with a lot of, bluster, where it says a new era of vengeful comedy begins. And you said the problem is down on your Ghostbuster Avenue. I don't know what you're going to end up calling the fans.
It's pretty short and sweet. The Ghosties.
And maybe just the ghosts.
The ghosts.
That'd be kind of cool. The Ghosties. Or you actually could go with the MPBs.
The MPBs.
With the beginning. You could go with that. MPBs, you know me.
MPBs at McDonald's.
One of my favorite things of K-pop bands is the fan names of it. So where you are no longer a hoodie, now you're an MPB. And so when you go into this, you said you and your MPBs have been talking about it, and you're already worried. There's 4 chapters up as we do this, I think, and people are already wondering if the mission statement has enough legs.
How much
in this first chapter? We're not really going to talk much about the mission statement because it does play out, and that's my biggest thing in this. It really does play out like a one-shot. You could just read this, and everybody, just to let everybody know, this is on Manga Plus, legal and free, so you can go and read it right there. Totally legit, so you can go and read it. And I do think that a lot of people will end up saying at the end, well, it was kind of cute, but you get a full story. I don't know the intrigue is really there because at the end of this first chapter, what would be the intrigue? You end up having a exorcism of one ghost, or at least if it's a ghost or it's the anger of a crazy fan, we'll get into it. But it's kind of resolved. It ends resolved. And then you have like the fun of, hey, I guess we're going to live together. And that could be something. But you never get that. It's not a cliffhanger to make you think, oh my God, I wonder how this will end up.
No, you're not dying to read chapter 2.
And what this reminds me of, if you end up with in television, it reminds me of a pilot. Reminds me of, and that's how these one-shots usually are for this. You put out the one-shot hoping that it will be picked up. So you're giving the flavor of it. And I do like the characters. I think that they could be fleshed out more, but having them live together by the end, I think would do that. So we'll get into this because I don't think they're stage plays, right?
There is very little. The one thing that is interesting that we can mention is that, of course, it was first published digitally on the Jump Plus in Japan on September 1st. And we are getting, this is one of the few that we have on Manga Plus that is actually getting simultaneous release. And they seem to be doing this a lot more often now. Like, we got that just this weekend with the Tokyo Underworld, which is that is hot off the press. But they seem to be doing a lot of these where like we are getting the same, like kind of with Jump on the Shonen Jump app, we get the simultaneous release. We're getting this with the Manga Plus too. So they're catching up on like some of the big series, like the Oshinokos. We're almost up to date with Japan and that, and now with brand new series, we're getting the same date,
which is translated. Cool. And I think they realize there's money to be made that way, and a lot of people now are reading these other things. Maybe it was before they were worried, well, everybody's going to be reading the My Hero Academias, the Jujutsu Kaisens.
It seems but I think they're a lot more, like, they're just throwing everything out there. You know, like, it used to, maybe they were holding back, but I once Excuse Me Dentist, It's Touching Me got on the table, all bets are off. You can do whatever you want.
I was almost caught up on that one.
Oh, and
by the way, at the end, we may hint at an announcement by the end of this podcast. Hello. We will see. But we'll jump into this. And as we said, and as you can tell by it, Ghostbuster Osamu, you're waiting for the Ghostbusters, and you're waiting to see who this Osamu is. And we start off with a cold open, though, where there is an exorcism going on, but it's going on bad. And I do like the idea. If you're worried about this being like, oh, my God, it's going to scare me. Oh, my God, it's going to be gruesome. It's not quite. And I think that that's a good play at the beginning, though I really do like the way the word bubbles are. It's almost like word vomit, like, dark.
Spooky, dark words.
But it really looks like a classic ghost. I mean, it looks like somebody with a sheet over them. So it's kind of a funny deal. But the art itself is dark and scratchy, so it has a good feel to it.
Toilet Bound Hanako.
Yeah, it does look a lot like that, yeah. And so when you have that, it seems to be, some sort of ghost, some sort of entity yelling stuff. And the play here is we don't know what the heck this thing is saying. It is off-putting at first. It really is. When you're trying to read it, I'll destroy everyone who supports the reverse couple. You're like, okay, what the heck does this mean? I think I like the play, though, because these people who are there, these older exorcists, they don't know what it's saying either. They have no idea. And I think the play is pretty cool that we're kind of stuck in the same boat. We're not in the know where we'll get in the know by the end. But even it says, eventual ghost, because it's a mass raging of emotions, the raging emotions of a girl have appeared as eventual ghosts in this apartment. So you go, and even then I'm like, what is happening? And it is one of those classic, cold opens that they end up having where if you do go and read it again, it makes more sense. Though it's not really that important. But then you end up getting, your credits page, and it looks good. And the art in this is really, really good.
I love the art.
I think so. Even at the beginning, I don't know if this is me remembering wrong, but when you end up having, and you're introduced to Kaika, the girl, who is a gal, her attribute. And that made me giggle because we like the gals. Kind of reminds me a little of, like, she could have been in the Hokkaido gal.
The Hokkaido gals are super
yeah, super adorable. It, looks like that, but she ends up saying, what, you can't get rid of this ghost? Like, I hired you to get rid of it. These two exorcists, they want out.
They've seen some baloney. Oh, no.
Yeah, and they say this ghost is very vengeful, like really over the top. We're getting out of here. They end up, just go buy another house. Get out of here. Go buy another apartment, whatnot. Easy. And she says, I can't afford that. And just to say, she's 16 years old. So you know that she's going to be going to school
by herself
and
in the big city.
Yeah, living by herself. That seems to be pretty much what we see a lot in these. So you end up where these two Ghostbusters, they get the heck out. They give her the Ghostbuster catalog, though, to go through it. And it's kind of funny because she doesn't know what to do, opens up the catalog, starts going through, and sees a picture of a Ghostbuster that's wearing her school uniform.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know there was a Ghostbuster at our school.
Whoa.
I do like this idea in the Ghostbuster magazine.
Yeah, is this like Ghostbusted Weekly? What?
Yeah, it is. And who is doing this? And the idea doesn't play out great with me. It really doesn't. And I'll get to that. Actually, I'll tell you right now, because then we are introduced to Osamu. Mm-hmm. You end up like, it seems like there's quotes in the Ghostbuster magazine, and she is so shy. And it's a weird play. You don't get that much of that in this. It's to introduce the character. And I know that you could say by the end, well, she would do an interview in the magazine because she is able to talk about the things that she likes. I'm not so sure she loves the Ghostbuster.
No.
At this point, she doesn't. She seems to really be into some manga, things like that, which may get her excited.
I don't think she'd be lining up for a Ghostbuster Weekly's interview.
I don't think she would. I think that she would have run from it, but that's the device they use, because you end up having Kaika say, all right, here it is, my school uniform. I'm going to go track down this girl. And it's on Front Street, too. She's not using a different name. You see the name right there with this picture of her, which I swear every time I look, I think that's like Kiki's Delivery Service. I think she's on a broom or something, but it's not. So she goes, and you get this play where they're trying to give you the character work. So number one, she seems way out of shape. I mean, look at her. She can't even walk around. That's not the play, though. She's nervous because it's, again, the classic. It's the school time. Everybody is out trying to recruit you to get in their clubs, that big club play. So she ends up not wanting to go out into this crowd. They're so joyful that it's shining a light at her. Like she can't even stand it. But it's the weird play. You're playing this idea she's a geek, and they play that up. But I never got like, yeah, you can play like she's emo or something like that. But I never got the idea through the dialogue after this that she's that dark. I just think that she came off as shy and doesn't really know anybody who likes the things she likes. No. But they really play it up here. Some of this kind of disappears very quickly in my mind, which maybe it's a good play anyway.
But you have kind of like the whole thing with the ghosts and like her spooky house, and that's the dark stuff. But like she's not really like a dark. It's just like more the shy thing that she has got going on.
Yeah. Like the idea where, like, I think of this character, if you think of it like Raven. Oh, like somebody who's so dark and always talking darkness. And she's not quite that. No. She just seems to be a girl who likes something that seemingly is very popular. And I want to see more of that. The idea, is it that because you end up having Kaika even recognize it as, oh, my little brother likes that? Is it something where most older people, like everybody seemed to be into it, but then you got too old? But it's a weird play. It's a weird back and forth play, because I do think that this, MPB, the Menko player bond, seems to be somewhat popular, but she ends up deciding she has to get through this crowd. She has to go through it. How am I going to do it? She ends up saying, I'll just pretend it's a Comic-Con and get through the crowds, and just boom, 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 gets through. And a lot of setup for that, in my mind. But again, it's like I get the idea that, okay, she's like us. She likes the comics. She likes the manga. So that's okay. It's just a weird push of how this is presented here. And I think that basically, if you ask me, it's Osamu who's the, kind of the geek, and then you have Kaiko's the gal, so you're going with the dark and light.
Unlikely duo.
You're pushing that dark, in my mind, a little bit more than maybe you should, but it works out because then Kaika shows up and says, hey, I need to talk to you. My name's Kaika Haruyama. I have problems saying that. And yeah, I'm from class 3. Do you have a moment? And she this is like, she gets stopped, like hitting a brick wall.
Oh, no.
She didn't think that she was going to get stopped. She wanted to get through this really quick. Why does she want to talk to me? Whatever. Well, when you want to talk to somebody, especially about Ghostbusting, there's only one place that you go, and that's Whack-Donald's.
It's the hottest place in town for talking about the Ghostbusters.
Wickety Whack-Donald's they go to. Me and you were laughing before. It's like, are they going to get the big whack?
The big whack.
And everything sounds weird. It's like, so they go to Whack-Donald. Now, seriously, I don't know how this would be the idea. Please put the golden arches there. And
Ronald Whack-Donald.
So to start the conversation, you end up, Kaika's like, hey, I bought you, like, when she was buying these drinks, they're already bought. And this is the weird play, too, because when I was in England, way back in the day. Me and my brother went to a Wimpy's to get some burgers or something back in the day, right? So we were there, and we didn't know that you pay when you leave. We thought that the idea of this was, oh my God, they forgot to charge us. This is going to be great. Yeah. So we were going out, and they're like, okay, where's your receipt? And I'm like, it's a weird way to do things. So in this, you end up where Kaika has bought an orange juice and a cola. She says to her, you want the orange juice or the cola? Everybody's going cola. I'm telling you, nonsense. But you end up having Osamu say, I don't have any money. Well, you already bought this. I mean, you were there. You had to wait in line when she ordered this. And the weird play is, why didn't she ask her, like, what do you want? She just ends up randomly.
Maybe she was like, actually, I bought these two for me, but you can have one, baby.
I get, maybe she thought that, but the idea where you just get the same thing, just get 2 colas or 2 orange juices. I don't know why you have things like this. It's such a weird little aside.
It's pretty whack.
It is pretty whack, Donald. And she says, I don't have any money. Oh, it's my treat. And I think that this is supposed to show you that she has a little bit of the scratch, that she has some money. The problem is right now I'm calling out Osamu. She has money. She's a liar. I'm going to go and grab that soundbite because she is. We'll find out. But it's to set up this crazy line that you have at the end again. You are the fictitious gal of legend.
Ooh.
And then it says in the little deal, you know, a gal that's actually nice to us geeks.
Whoa.
And the weird play again, us geeks. But I do like the characters. I'm not going to harp on too much in this because I like the characters. I like the back and forth. I just thought that maybe it's weird. You could go really into these characters of gal versus geek, have that. They kind of get, it's like surface level. You don't get too much, but it's more for the flow of it and the gag.
There's a lot of setup just for this initial relationship, but then that kind of takes the back seat once we get the mission statement going.
And so I might have liked the idea, again, of what would this mean to Kaika, the gal, to be seen with Osamu.
At the #1 spot, Whack
Donald. Yeah, at the Whack. Everybody's after school at the Whack Donald.
Jeez.
I mean, why wouldn't you be at the Whack Donald's? The problem I'd go to the Whack Donald's, there's the cup, and you have the W for the Whack, and I'd be thinking McDonald's, and I turn it upside down and spill my drink all over myself. Oh, no, why did I do that again? But you end up where, again, like the idea where you could have had her with her gal friend. Like, you don't really get that. And even when when Osamu says, us geeks, I would have liked to have seen, like, they're hanging out. Well, the best place to do any of this interaction is the lunchroom, the cafeteria, because that's when all the craziness happens. But I would have liked to have seen more of their friends, how they're treated by other people. Is Kaika the #1 gal in the school, and she wants to hide? That's why they go to the Whack Donald's, because you don't realize nobody goes to the Whack Donald's. They're actually down the street at the actual McDonald's.
It does look pretty empty when they're sitting there. Oh, jeez.
This whole play is just, I need to talk to you about an exorcism. And you end up where, at first, Osamu is trying to play it off. And like I said, some of these scenes aren't developed as much as I wish. You can get some funny things out of them. She just says, that'd be hard for me. And then you end up, well, you're right here in this magazine. And then she's shaking her head. Oh, my God, what's that? And then, Kaiko's a little upset. Maybe I let the cat out of the bag. She says she's mistaken. And one of the plays, too, in this is even at the beginning, when they sit down, you end up having Osamu as like a wreck.
Yeah,
she's mumbling. I mean, it looks like she is like phasing through the, like, holy crap, really upset. But then that kind of goes away. Like I said, a lot of these things happen and they're a little bit not off-putting, but you're like, okay, what's that? But then it never gets back to it. But you get the idea, the basic gist. She's very shy. She likes her thing. And, Kaika is a gal. I think the gal, again, could have been pushed a little more, but she wants to have her come because, hey, I moved into this new apartment. It was cheap, $300. I think that's supposed to show you what she thinks is cheap compared to what, the money maybe Osamu has. But it was haunted. I ended up getting these exorcists, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. I like the progression here, though, where you end up having this deal of when Kaika is telling her about this, no interest at all from Osamu. She wants to get the heck out. She doesn't want to get involved in this.
She is actively against the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, like, not my problem. I don't need to do this until you end up having her say, well, what did this ghost say? What did they say? And she's like, it didn't make any sense. HPB, or MPB. MPB Bon and Hisuban. That's the big one. The Hisuban is the big one. All of them are big, but and then they're just names thrown out there. And these exorcists, they didn't know what it meant. So I guess that I might as well just give up. I guess I'm going to have to go back with my parents.
Oh, geez.
And that's when all of a sudden Osamu comes to life.
Fired up.
And I'm telling you, in this, you will get the play. I love the Anya faces in Spy Family. You get the Osamu faces.
There's some good Osamu faces.
There's some really good ones because she ends up, and I like this play. Again, if I'm a shy guy. So if I'm out and about, but if somebody talks to me about Blackpink, I'm going to light up. I'm going to be like, oh my God, that's my end. The funny play here is this is Osamu's thing. She realizes what this is. It says, okay, we're in. I like this just like, okay, this is it. We're doing it now. Because she heard these names. I have to get ready. Let's go. She never even, you have Kaiko's like, what? Like, you're going to do it now? All right. But this is what springs her into life. And it's able to let her talk to Osamu normally then. Even at the one point, it's weird when Kaika says to Osamu, oh, you can actually talk, normal. I didn't get it, didn't hit as much, but it makes sense. And she's excited, like, well, yeah, when you talk about the things I like.
She's invested.
The funny play is these two seem to be like getting set up to be friends. And the thing is, Kaika, she doesn't like this. And that's the funny, it's this ghost who legitimately is like drawing them together in the way that Kaika wants to get rid of the ghost. And I think that Osamu at this point is intrigued that a ghost is saying things about her favorite manga. So they're going to go up. They stop at her house. Sus house. It is Sus house. Cobwebs and I don't know.
Clean up this place.
A cleanup lady.
Oh,
and then you even have it where you have Kaika say, hey, is this your house? Like, it's pretty big. Look at that. Whoa. Like, oh, man, it looks like it's haunted. And then almost like, hey, do you live with somebody? Or something like that. And gets nervous again. I'm like,
that is the most sus line in this whole book. And that is never brought up again. And like 4 chapters later, I don't know what's going on.
Right? That's especially a Ghostbuster.
Yeah. What
right
the heck?
away, you think there's a ghost there. Who is it, though? Is it the ghost of her younger brother who got hit by a car?
And happened to like MPB too?
And like the MPB, and that's why she carried it on. I mean, you get all these crazy things. Is it the ghost of the writer of the MPB who she sliced their throat? No, not yet. I'm telling you, you get intrigued by
There's layers there that have yet to be uncovered.
I'm telling you, when you have something about ghost busting, where you have this girl who's very nervous, doesn't have a lot of friends, and you go back to her house and the other character says, seems like a haunted house.
Spooky house.
And then say, do you live with somebody? And she says, well, something like that.
It writes itself.
All right, here we go. Does she have the ghost butler?
Oh,
I just want, but it doesn't seem. I even asked you. That's the first thing did. This carry on? You know anything like that yet?
Ghost fab. Oh my goodness.
She says they have to prepare. So what would a Ghostbuster end up doing? I know they'd have their packs on and things like that. If you're in the West, being a Ghostbuster, yeah, you'd have all that. Nope. What you do is go by the latest issue of MPB, the Menko Player Bond. She gets this, and the funny play is she gets this, but doesn't really need to. I think this is just her getting it for herself, because she's going to fight this guy. And even then, she's going, and this ghost is yelling. Does she think maybe an offering of this? Because later, she does say that.
Working, but I think that's just like a coincidence. That just, I'll just do this.
It's weird that she says, I got to prepare. And it made me think like, oh man, maybe she's like me. She's like, a couple chapters behind. She has to catch up.
It has to catch up in the volume.
You don't want to end up going against a ghost that loves the MPB and you're not up to date.
You got to know the facts.
You don't want to get shade thrown at you by a shade.
Oh,
my goodness gracious. Like all of a sudden you're like, that's my favorite character of all time. What? They died 2 chapters ago? Oh, no.
What have they done for us lately?
So, yeah, that's all I get is she's like, I better get the super fandom in me again or whatnot. But she does buy it. I said she was lying earlier. She had
look
money.
at all that money. That 4.6 USD.
Exactly. And that would probably get you a cola.
And an orange juice at McDonald's.
Yeah, and an orange juice, and maybe a big whack.
Maybe the whack
big
meal
whack.
set.
So she gets this and says, I need this book. But I wanted more of a play. All this is that she's going to buy the book so the narrator can even explain it. I don't know that Kaika really needs to be explained about the serialized manga in the Shonen Jump.
Weekly Shonen Jump.
I mean, I can't go a week without my weekly Shonen Jump.
Gotta have it.
If you look, I like the idea of, like, you could guess. I wish there was more little pictures, like we had little parodies of things and going on.
I like seeing all, like, the little stars and, like, trying to figure out what that's supposed to be. Who's this
like
one?
And that's what I would have liked. And plus, like, I would like to see that me and Robodo is in there. You got to change one letter and everything. So you end up where she says, let me explain. Menko Player Bond is a popular shonen manga, serialized in weekly Shonen Jump.
Oh.
Why don't you just say?
Like, okay, McDonald's is one thing, because, you don't want Ronald knocking on your door.
No, you don't need that with papers.
This is Jump Plus. Like, this ain't Jump Plus. Like, you can do that. It's okay.
I mean, seriously, that's pretty jump in my mind.
Jump indeed.
Hey, watch out, you better jump. I just, like, why even go with the weekly Shonen Jump?
Yeah, because it's so obvious at this stage.
It makes me giggle, though, right?
99% of the way there. Go all in.
It's so funny when I'm reading it. I saw that. It didn't bother me. We're making fun of it. But I just sat there looking and just like, why? Why did you go there? I don't get it. So when you have that going down, they run off. Hey, I'm going to need this to get rid of the ghost. Again, I think maybe the play would be that it would be an offering. Hey, if you get out of here, we'll give you that. Which I think that even a mad ghost would probably like. Because I guess once you die, you're like me. Once you stop doing the weekly review show, it's all dead to you. You never read again.
They don't have the jump plus in the afterlife.
No. Weekly Shonen Jump is not in the afterlife.
No.
And so they end up running off to get this. And that's where I said, where Kaika says, oh my God, my little brother has this manga too.
Oh.
And that's where I thought to myself, okay, is that the play? That it's like, maybe you're, 32 and you're still, reading some stuff. I'm thinking of Mark right now. That this stuff that he, Sailor Moon and some Pokemon.
Oh, no.
We all do that. I'm just saying, is that what that gal thinks?
And maybe the thing is as well, like, this is because, the way they have different reading demographics, like, this is the shonen, and what's this girl doing reading about the MPPs? What the heck?
But this is Weekly Shonen Jump.
Jump.
Jump is
Everybody
all
reads
into that.
Weekly Shonen
Everybody
Jump.
loves Jump in this one. So that's where you end up, Kaika ends up realizing, oh my God, those names, they're on the cover. And that's it. Yes. And they say that the deal of some of the stuff, Bon and this Hisu. Bon, it sounds like Jisoo. Bon is the innocent main character, and Hisu is the cool rival.
Ooh.
So all of that, now the big play, now we're going to hit. Really, all this, up to this was all joking or whatever. Here is what ends up happening. But even so, you end up having this where it's about the shipping. It's about the thing. So again, this is kind of a funny gag type deal. And it's making fun. It's like making fun of yourself and making fun. It's not done in a mean.
No, it's all very fun.
Yeah, everything's about the manga and all, and even anime as well. The idea that people ship, having their fantasies, and I do get some weird plays here because you end up where Osamu goes, listen, a common name that we use when we fantasize and ship the characters on our own, and that's Hisuban, which you ended up having. But Kaika, she like jumps in to yell, but they don't feel that way. How does she know? She wouldn't know. And that's another thing is I thought, and I'm kind of glad they don't do it, but you would almost play the idea like that Osamu might be super smart and Kaika, you think that she's not so smart, but you never get that. You don't get that play,
you don't
really.
Get either, like, because she's got that gal personality. She's never making fun of Osamu at all here. She's almost like she's learning with us. She's very much like because
it is.
Maybe not everybody is into the shipping and the Hisu bands, but we have Kaike who's going to be on the same level as us as we learn about it.
Exactly. And how I thought maybe the play would have been here is, and you never get it. Even later, there's a point where you could do it again. But the idea is she's a gal. We know about the gals. They like all the fancy clothes. Like, she never comes off as one.
No.
And in that, I thought that at a point, while you end up having Osamu talking about her favorite manga, maybe she'd have to like, okay, listen, and try to get it in the gal's mind. Like, compare it to something.
Break it down to the gal mentality.
You know what I mean? Like something like that. And then show that, okay, and then eventually the two worlds collide. They come together as it goes forward. But like you said, I think that Kaika it's nice that she's very accepting.
Oh,
I mean, she really is. She seems to be very
into this very crazy geek world, and she just is an open
she goes
book.
right with it, right? And I never thought of it as, well, whatever. Like, I assume she'd be, whatever, just get this ghost out of my house. But she never plays that up like that. She's very nice. Like, they seem like friends already.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that maybe it could have played it up a little bit more, especially the gal part of it. You tried to play up the geek part, but it seemed a little surface level even with that. I think
because there's so much going on with, like, this setting up, like, they don't really get time to go any deeper for her.
Maybe we could have had less pages of manga fights, because that's what we're getting to in a minute. Because what happens, and it's a funny little twist here. You end up, and you have to keep remembering this idea that Kaiko said, that the ghost said Hisuban. Right? It doesn't seem that important right now, but she said Hisuban, which is, again, an odd thing to misget in a proper kind of misget, even though you didn't know the things. It's a weird play, but you end up with, all right, let's go. And so the big play is this ghost is somebody who's shipping. She's also a Hisuban. She is somebody who has the same hobby. She's all excited, and this will be why she can talk to the ghost. At one point earlier, you seem to have power levels of these vengeful ghosts, but then with you end up Osamu, it seems like she just has to not be nervous and not be shy, and she can go do this. And when this ghost is obviously into the same thing she's into, whatever the case may be, but the problem is if you remember, this is based on the anger. And vengeful ghost. So why is it so mad? Why is it this pissed off in the way? And I think they could have played it in a way that it's still, pissed off at the Hisuban. Well, we'll see that, because when you go in and they get to the house, they go in and it's going, all of a sudden, you end up the ghost in that crazy speak that we had at the beginning, yells out, Bon Hisu is the best.
Oh, no.
That's
I mean, you get the visualization as well.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I mean, seriously. And you're going to go into this for the rest of the time talking about who's the top and who's the bottom.
69!
I don't know what's happening here, but you really go with this crazy deal of it, and they start fighting. At that one point, you have, some of the tropes. It is funny where suddenly Samu's spitting up blood. And like, oh my God, and getting attacked. The idea, and here's the play too. It's more of an attack of a fandom, like, oh my God, I've just been slapped with the idea that this ghost likes Bon Hisu, not Hisuban. And really, I like the idea. Osamu, she's down with her deal. She's Hisuban. She's not changing. I mean, even when Kaika says, just tell him you're the other. Just come on,
it's not that easy.
Oh my God, I can't do that. And then you end up, the ghost gets upset. That's just like Hisuban fans with their hoity-toity ways.
Jeez.
And so with that too, just remember here, the Hisuban, so funny that we're talking about this. Hisuban fans, they're the majority. Most people seem to like the Hisuban fandom or shipping. Mm-hmm. The Bon Hisu, that's kind of on the fringe.
That's
not as many people like that. Yeah, that is the rare pair. And so that's the anger. That's why this ghost is just here because it seems Bon Hisu is not accepted more and now is going to try to kill everybody, no matter if you know what you're talking about or not. The deal here, though, is that this ghost thinks that Kaika's in on it and actually doesn't even believe her, because as this is going on, telling you get the idea, okay, what's going on is some people think that Bon, he's loved, and then he's the top, he's the bottom. It gets in this fight with it. And then the ghost ends up saying to Kaika, don't lie. I know that you're doing this. I know you're taunting me. And it kind of gets a little feng shui-esque when
time.
you do this, right? Because the room is arranged in a way that's throwing shade at the ghost because the room, the way that squares and circles and reds and greens are all over the place, it ends up really pointing out the idea that this house is pure Hisuban.
It's the couple colors.
Kaika has no idea what they're talking about. She hasn't done any of this. Again, this is where I thought maybe you can throw a little of the gal stuff in where she could mention the stuff. Like you end up, well, look at over here. You have that square and the red. That's it. And no. That's the new scent from this. And that's this. I thought you could get that.
Latest trend.
Exactly. And you never really get that, even though when you look at the stuff, I mean, she straight up has a cup with green and squares. And I believe that's like Hisu. Straight up. And the other cup looks like a die, a dice, but it's like straight up Bond. Like she might be doing what she's
got pillows, she's got couches.
So that's where then, and this is where I said some of the times you get these weird faces in that. I love the faces of Osamu. At one point, you get like a garbage pail kid face, right? Yelling, because she tries to explain to Kaika again what the shipping is and why it's a big deal if somebody switches the order of what they think. And this is really about who's the top and who's the bottom in this love duo. Because she says in horse racing, you wouldn't want the jockey riding the horse. And I'm like, no, that would really be trouble. The way they're spelling this out. But so at one point, you just have Kaika just switch it up. Just end up, I get it. I get it now. She even goes a little garbage pail kid, then gets really dark at the one point, like, he. Now I know how to stop it. I'm like, what is going on here? But the whole play is that, in my mind, the way this plays out, Osamu has to beat that crap out of this ghost to prove that Hisuban is the
legit couple.
And they go back and forth, and they keep fighting. And I mean, I'm talking... it's manga fight. You are actually fighting physically, though. I mean, you end up hurting each other with this idea of punching, but the punching's like, I think that Bon is it's crazy.
The words
but it's
hurt.
Going on. And in that, you even have where at one point when the ghost does explain, hey, listen, those Hisuban, they think they're so cool because they're the majority. And that's where Samu is very Anya as like, ooh, it's a super classic couple. And you end up having like, this isn't helping. As this is going on, the house is getting completely destroyed.
Trash.
But they go and they are fighting. The idea, too, is that at one point, Osamu's like, screw this as an exorcism. I'm going to town now. You get it really personal.
The fist questions.
It's weird. It's weird to talk about, too, but she ends up saying, I'm going to beat the hate out of this thing. I'm going to teach it the right deal. They start throwing shade at each other that either of them aren't reading the manga properly.
Your reading comprehension skills.
Ghost and the Ghostbuster are actually fighting about their reading comprehension skills. Then you have the deal where I thought, oh no, this ghost won. When the ghost says, well, if I'm not right, why do they? I don't know what it means, but why do they put them on the cover like this? And I get the right to left where you would see Bond first and go to the, and that's like the play. Why would they do that? Then Osamu gets mad. No way, because again, the shipping isn't done by the writer.
No.
The shipping's done by the fans. And so Osamu says, there's no way that they thought of that beforehand. Though, at one point, Kaika, who seems maybe she has connections, she's like, I'm just going to call them up. That makes both of them freak out. No, like they don't want that. And with that, I just wonder. And usually Animalix is the one to really give us the information, so I might lean on
Shout out.
The idea when you have like in the book the writer and the artist there, it does look like it is a lady, which is kind of cool. You end up seeing that. I don't know if that's accurate to it, but we actually have a male this week from Animalix is going to explain that a lot of times, the mangakas, they don't ever reveal anything about themselves.
Yeah, they
it's
keep
all
it real.
pseudonyms. They keep it really, really tight.
Low.
So that's kind of a thing. And it's funny because I do, first off, thank Animalix, and we'll be reading that. I think it's in the Demon Slayer. But when we get to that, they already sent that. And then I read this, and I'm like, ooh, what's the play here? Is this like to get them off the set? I don't know. But
I don't even
see what they know.
This could be the author, or it could be like maybe who the ghost was.
Yeah, it's you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird
there.
deal. But it is funny when you see that, and it's like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm,
Almost inserting yourself in would be a neat little deal. But you end up where, I mean, I'm telling you, this house is getting destroyed, and there is legit damage being done.
Oh,
and
yeah.
People,
Big
the
time.
ghost getting hurt. You end up Osamu's getting hurt.
Osamu gets like beaten up here. Jeez.
Kaika's just losing her mind. And I love it where Osamu hits the ghost and yells, "Read it properly." Like all these things going on, all this stuff going down. And so they start then to fight about if this Bond character, is he loved or is he adored? And I'm telling you, at this point, I'm like, yeah, I know now why I'm not in the shipping thing. But again, it makes me laugh because there's so many things. Even in K-pop, you have a ton of
Who's
shit.
your bias?
But you end up where, yeah, they just keep arguing. But they're arguing the real play here in my mind. They're arguing about something they both love. And I'm talking the Ghost and Osamu. So they're going on and on about it, saying about how they think of these characters as real and all this stuff going down. But at the end, it does end up seeming like that is the big thing. The big thing is the love of the manga. That is what they really love. Why are we fighting about this shipping when we both love the manga? At one point, the ghost stretches out Osamu's face so crazy and funny, it made me giggle. But yeah, they end up where it says, even if they punch each other while revealing everything dirty in their hearts, the way they exchange fists look lively because they love that manga from the bottom of their hearts. And they end up where they're shaking fists at each other.
Well, it's got sparkles. Look at them.
It is. Where they realize now that they're fighting. And here's the play that I wish it was set up a little more. You didn't have enough setup of the loner Osamu who has nobody to talk to. You get that, but not enough. Like the idea, like she's there sitting by herself in the lunchroom. It's the perfect opportunity to do that, where you see Kaika who has all these friends. They're all, look at that loser. She's always trying to talk about manga. We don't like that. We're the gals. Jeez. You finally have where Osamu has had the best time of her life because she actually got to talk to somebody about the manga that she loves. Her. The ghost ends up, because seriously, when Osamu dies, you better call that Ghostbuster right away. She's going to cause problems.
Big time.
But this ghost also seems like the way that it can go to the afterlife, it got out its anger, but also did get a nice time to talk about the manga. So you end up where it was funny, because then you end up, or not, and it looks like they're fighting some more. But they did have that moment of and funny in comics in general, the idea that you fight with somebody, you're usually going to become best friends with them.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a ghost. So I don't know that I wouldn't have liked this ghost to come back to our house with her. The ghost seems to go to heaven.
They're all end up as ghost friends back at the house.
I wouldn't have minded where the ghost is just at that barn house of hers, and then occasionally it gets mad because of the newest, edition of Jumb. But yeah, so the ghost seems to go to heaven, and there is a funny play. I actually laughed maybe the most of this because it's one of the kind of little tropes that I like, where the exorcism is a success. I'm telling you, Osamu is worse for wear. She got the crap beat out. And then you end up, thanks to that fist fight, I was able to let out all my hatred. That's all this ghost needed to do. And says, thank you. So then when you look, the dental plan was activated. She's missing a tooth. She's just bleeding. Her one eye's closed. But she says, the newest manga volume. Again, this is what I said earlier. I'll burn it as an offering to you. And it's such a nice little moment where the ghost looks, and then the ghost gets carried away. The ghost gets greedy. He says, don't forget the new issue of Bonshu Summer Comic. And then she says, don't get carried away. I love that. I love the thing where you have in a movie or anything where they're trying to psych somebody up, and then the person goes way over the top. Whoa, calm down there, pal. And that's kind of the deal. And it's a nice little funny joke at the end. So all is done. Remember when this whole set up, I think that one of the plays of Osamu didn't think ahead. There was never a thought of, I'll pay you to do this as much, because at the end now, she's got to pay for the damage. I mean, Osamu said she has no money. has to pay for the damage. This place is destroyed. They're going to have a construction crew. And then in a gal play, but not enough, I thought, was the idea, what's that big bag over there? First off, Kaika is there, and she's got her first aid kit and is helping. It's a nice little scene. But, hey, what's that huge bag? And I mean, this thing looks like a house itself.
Bigger than both of them.
And yeah, she's like, I'm staying at yours today. So she's going to go live with Osamu. And you end up where, again, where's the joke where Osamu says, what are you packing for like 3 months or something? Oh. And she says, oh, no, that's just for 2 days.
That's an overnight bag.
But it's so much, It's like Mrs. Howell in the Gilligan's Island. They pack too much. Movies. So you end up where, I'm going to stay with you. What? You can't stay with me? No. This Ghostbuster came and really ruined my house, so I'm going to have to do that.
Jeez.
All right, I guess. And ends up where there's a nice little deal where you get, 1 hit, 2 hit, overkill, because she does say, Ghostbuster went berserk, destroyed my house. Boom. There's the first, shit. And then says, I don't have anywhere to go. I can't sleep outdoors. Oh, no, I'm going to have to listen to that. And then she says, I got some curry ingredients for 2. Boom. 2. Overkill. We're going to go food wars real quick. And then the end where you have just still a beat to hell. Osamu goes, you really are the fictitious gal of legend. And then she says, what the hell is that again? And then you end up where the end, a geek and a gal, the exorcism story begins now. As I said, that's a complete ending. You end up having them stop that one ghost, and they have a little nice thing at the end. Hey, I'm going to live with you. That's where we'll set up a little thing. But you could read this as a one-shot. I had fun with it. I just like I said, I hope that they expand the gal and the nerd and the geek. I'm afraid that maybe they won't. They're just going to go forward with it. But I think that there's a lot, because it is kind of a gag play, this whole manga. That's where I think the gags are. The odd couple of these two. But
differences.
You need to stress that a little more. And I think they should have started a little further apart. Like the idea now where Kaika's going to go and live with Osamu, like I don't want her to really want to do that. She seems like that she's already planned this out.
Yeah, I feel that they're best friends from page 10,
Yeah, and she already, when she saw the one of the first things she thought when she saw Osamu's house was, maybe I could live here. If they're almost thinking, we can't get rid of the ghost, I'll just live here. This is just a little twist of that. But yeah, you never really got the idea of, in my mind, I don't want to be seen with you right now. Oh my God, what would the other gals say? What is this? All that sort of thing with it. Going with a girl who obviously is a loner, but maybe not wanting to be, wants to talk to somebody about it. Even when I thought that when you ended up having where the ghost and Osamu get along, I wish that you had like at least a panel of them really going heavy in their fandom of the manga. And Kaika's just like, we get on with it. Like, I didn't pay for this. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't want to be involved with this, please. And then, okay, well, I better go to heaven. And then go off with that, I thought would have been kind of fun. But with all that, it's still good. I do like it, and it's something that I may actually keep reading for a purpose.
Hello.
We'll talk about that in a second. What would you give this overall?
Well, this is like right up my alley. This is a straight up Luke joint right here. A banger. I will agree. Like, I do think maybe, like, I don't know if it needed more pages. I don't know if you just need to streamline it a little. There's a lot of that. Once you get to, like, the fighting bit, there's a lot of just that fighting. And it's pretty much the same thing that's happening again and again. And I get you want to, have that set up with the Hisu bad Hisus and all the arguments going on. But, like, I think the core, as you were saying, the core of it, beyond the mission statement of geek ghostbusting, is going to be that gal and that geek relationship and how they kind of pair and the contrasting of that. Which we do get like a little here, but I think I really want to see more. Like you said, I want to see more like the friends and how they interact, what's going to go on at their everyday life in the geek ghostbusting world. Because I think that's going to, like, you're going to have, like, the main joke and the main mission statement is going to be going after the ghosts and ghostbusting, and like it's going to be geeky, and that's where the comedy is going to come in. But I think like the core of it is going to be on that relationship, and that's what's going to give it the legs, because people are going to come for the jokes, but like if they're going to like the interaction between Osamu and Kaika, and that's what they're going to want to see.
Yeah, And like I said, there's 4 chapters. You said you had read 3. I would be shocked if we haven't already. You don't have to say if we did or not, but eventually you got to run into a gal ghost where it ends up being that Kaika is the one who's now in the know. That gets her into the ghost busting.
You see, that's where the real, you got some real possibilities there. Because like by itself, I can't see this lasting 100 chapters. But hey, we say that, but then we have stuff like Time for Torture that's still going strong, doing the same thing
really.
every week.
You do the same thing. But I hope that is the melding of the 2 worlds makes them better.
I think so. I think that's where the
friends,
magic
and then you
lies.
go. Yeah, I agree. But what would you give a score?
Oh, well, I like this a lot. I think that, there's room for improvement, but still at the core, I think this is the banger. I love the art. We're talking Anya.
I think the art's really good.
Anya face level coming for Osamu here. Meme potential on point. So I'm going to hit it with one of the higher scores we've had in a while. 9.5. I'm telling you.
Holy moly.
I think it gets it. I'm telling you. It's a banger.
The Wolfman. I'm giving it an 8.
Whoa.
I'm going to give it an 8. I liked it. And I want to end up, seeing if it develops more. By the end, I like the 2 characters, but I don't really know them. It's not like I'm like, oh my God. Like, we've had certain characters that we've read. And Anya is right there. We keep mentioning her. But, something like that, or even like a Hina in the blue. Like, when you get them, you're like, oh my God, this is a great character. Oh my God, Luke's going to love that character. You get that. It just feels a little bit too generic still. I need to know more about them. I need to see them, what ends up almost like what they are before they get here, how different they are. I hope that we end up showing that. I mean, just the idea of her unpacking that stuff in that house is probably going to be funny. Some of those things that I look forward to seeing. But I'm going to go 8 out of 10.
Solid.
And with that, will I keep reading it? I know that most people would laugh and say there's no way, but there is a possibility. I'm going to still keep it as a possibility. But it looks like that me and Luke will be bringing back the weekly review show.
Don't call it a comeback.
With a more of a focus, which we did before, but a lot of focus on the Jump Plus stuff, which we think that not many people are paying attention to with podcasts and things like that. That a lot of people are reading this stuff and really like it. And that's where we keep saying that we're really big on the Jump Plus stuff. And even then, like some of the bigger bangers, like a Spy Family and a Kaiju number 8 are Jump Plus stuff. But we're going to do other stuff as well. It's just going to be a focus on some of the lesser reviewed stuff. So we're going to probably do that if it does come out. Probably be not this week. I was starting to think we were actually getting fired up like it would be this week. I think it might be the next couple weeks, but it will tell everybody. I have to get caught up in things is basically the deal. So once I get reading, then we'll be reviewing, but we'll have that. And yeah, it'll probably come out on Wednesdays. I think that's when the last time we did it came out. So. But that was on hiatus. But we'll end up where we're going to come back, maybe change things up a little. And we say the Jump Plus, we're still going to talk about some of the other things like Luke himself might do My Hero and Jujutsu Kaisen like we did before. And then even the Akane Banashi, because really that's the only reason Luke wants to have the weekly review show, so that I have to get caught up and we get to talk about Akane Banashi.
There's some bangers out there.
There are some bangers, so we'll end up doing that, still continuing with all of our reading clubs and all that. So with all that and this show, and it'll be on this feed. It'll be on the feed with the Manga Monday deal for now. So all of that said and done, that is it. Luke gave a crazy high score for this, but he's excited about it. Still one of the few things he's not fully caught up on, so I think that he's a bit sus. But thanks, everybody. And what are we doing next week? We actually mentioned it earlier, and I always forget the titles. What is the next week's show?
But yeah, the jury's still out. We're either going to be doing the brand new Tokyo Underworlds, which is hot off the presses. I don't know. Like maybe they release 5 other new titles before next week, and then it's old off the presses. Or we're going to do another one from the Manga Plus. There's a couple in the pipeline.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's Skeleton Double, things like that. We have to figure it out. But we're going to do something hot off the press again, so we'll be doing one of those titles. But with all that, thanks, everybody. Go over to our Twitter, @WeirdManga. Follow us, we'll follow you back. And then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScienceManga, where you get early access to a bunch of things, including 8 episodes of this Manga Monday show. Just sitting back there. Bangers, all of them, I heard. But with that, thank you for joining me, Luke, and thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you next Monday.